Your bank is making over $1,000 a year off your money and sending you a small portion as a thank you. The worst part? Most people smile, say thanks, and never ask a single question. Today, that changes. I want to tell you about two people. Both of them thought they were handling their money the right way. Both of them were wrong. One made an obvious mistake. The other thought he had it all figured out, and that made his mistake even worse. Let me introduce you to Sarah and Mike. Sarah is 29 years old, lives in Columbus, Ohio. She did everything her parents told her to do. She opened a savings account at a big national bank, put $25,000 in it, her emergency fund, checked her balance every month, felt responsible, felt safe. Her bank was paying her 0.4% APY on $25,000, that's $100 a year, about $8 a month, less than the cost of a fast food meal. But here's what Sarah never thought about. That $25,000 didn't just sit there waiting for her. The moment it hit her account, her bank put it to work. Not for Sarah, for themselves. Here's exactly what her bank did with her money. First, they lent it out. That is the core business model of every single bank in America. They borrow your money at a tiny rate and lend it to someone else at a much bigger rate. The gap between those two numbers is called the net interest margin. Right now, the average for U.S. banks is around 3.4%, the highest it's been in years. Let's put that in real numbers. Sarah's bank paid her 0.4%. They turned around and earned around 3.4% on the money they lent out. On $25,000, the bank pocketed hundreds of dollars more than it ever gave her, and that's just the average. Credit cards right now charge around 21% APR. Auto loans are running about 7.5%. Personal loans somewhere around 12%. The bank borrows Sarah's money at 0.4, lends it out at 7, 12, 21%, and keeps every dollar of that difference. But here's the part that should really make you stop and think. Sarah's bank also takes a portion of her deposit and buys U.S. Treasury bills. Right now, 3-month T-bills are yielding around 3.5%. The bank buys those treasuries with Sarah's money, earns 3.5%, and pays Sarah 0.4%. Think about what that means. The bank is literally acting as a middleman between Sarah and the U.S. government, charging her over 3% a year just to stand in the middle. And Sarah could have bought those same treasury bills herself and cut the bank completely out of the picture. On top of all of this, banks collected over $12 billion in overdraft fees, ATM charges, and maintenance fees last year. Plus interchange revenue every time you swipe your debit card. Plus the float. That's money they hold on pending transactions for a day or two before it clears. All of it built on top of deposits like Sarah's. She gave them $25,000. They paid her $100. And made thousands off her money in return. Now, let's talk about Mike. Mike did his research, watched videos, read articles, switched his money to a high-yield savings account paying 4.7%. He felt smart. He felt like he had solved the problem. He hadn't. On $25,000, Mike earns around $1,175 a year. Compare that to Sarah's $100. Mike is doing way better. But here's what Mike doesn't know. That 4.7%? It might not be what he's actually earning. A lot of high-yield accounts advertise a top rate that only applies to your first $500 or $1,000. After that, the rate drops. Others offer a promotional rate for the first 90 days, then quietly cut it in half and send you an email you'll never read. Mike saw the headline number. His real rate might be lower. Then there's taxes. Interest from a savings account is taxed as ordinary income. That means federal tax plus state income tax. If Mike is in the 22% federal bracket and lives in a state with a 5% income tax, he's losing over a quarter of every dollar in interest. His $1,100 becomes closer to $800 after taxes. And the big one. Mike's high-yield savings account is doing the exact same thing Sarah's bank does, lending money out, buying treasuries, running the same machine. The only difference is they share a slightly bigger slice with Mike. The bank is still the middleman, and the middleman is still taking a cut. Mike never asked the obvious question. If my bank is using my money to buy treasury bills at 3.5%, why don't I just buy the treasury bills myself? Let me show you the real numbers side by side. $25,000, 1 year. 3 different approaches. Sarah's traditional savings account at 0.4%, gross interest, $100. After federal and state taxes, she keeps around $72. That's what a full year of responsible saving earns her. Mike's high-yield savings account at 4.7%. Gross interest, $1,175. After a combined 27% in taxes, he keeps about $858. A massive improvement, but still taxed on every dollar. Now, option 3. A short-term Treasury ETF, something like SGOV. The current yield is around 3.5 to 4% depending on when you check it. On $25,000, that's roughly $875 to $1,000 in gross income. Here's the critical difference. Interest from U.S. Treasury securities is exempt from state and local income taxes. That's federal law. So Mike pays federal plus state tax on his earnings. The Treasury investor only pays federal. In a high-tax state like California or New York, that exemption alone can be worth the entire difference in yield. And unlike Mike's 4.7%, which his bank can drop to 3% next month with a short email, Treasury yields are set by actual U.S. government auctions. Transparent, market-driven, no bait and switch. So what should you actually do? It's simpler than you think. First, keep your checking account. You still need it for rent, bills, and daily spending. This isn't about changing how you spend. It's about changing where your idle cash sits. Second, figure out how much idle cash you actually have. Your emergency fund, your savings buffer, any money sitting in a savings account right now. That's the money working for your bank instead of working for you. Third, here are your real options. Option 1. A Treasury ETF, like SGOV. You buy it through any brokerage, Fidelity, Schwab, Robinhood, whatever you already use. Buy it just like a stock. The fund holds Treasury bills maturing in 3 months or less. Every month you receive a dividend. That's your interest. When you need your money, you sell during market hours. The price stays near $100 by design. The annual fee is just 0.09%. On $25,000, that's about $22 a year. And your income is exempt from state and local tax. Option 2. TreasuryDirect.gov. This is the U.S. government's own website. You buy T-bills directly. No brokerage, no ETF, no fee at all. The downside is less flexibility. You're committing to a maturity date between 4 weeks and 52 weeks. But if you don't need instant access, this is the cleanest way to cut the bank out completely. Option 3. A government money market fund through a brokerage like Fidelity or Schwab. These invest in short-term government securities. Daily liquidity. Yields are competitive with high-yield savings accounts right now, and if you choose a government-only fund, you get the same state tax exemption. Now, you might be thinking, what about FDIC insurance? Fair point. FDIC insures up to $250,000 per depositor per bank. That's a real protection. But think about what you're actually comparing. Treasury bills are debt issued by the same United States federal government that backs the FDIC in the first place. When you buy a T-bill, you're lending directly to the government. The risk of default is essentially zero. You're not giving up safety, you're just removing the middleman. And if you're worried about liquidity, yes, there's a 1 to 2 business day settlement when you sell an ETF. But be honest with yourself. When was the last time you needed $25,000 in cash within the hour? In a real emergency, 2 business days is almost always fine. And the hundreds of dollars you gain each year while waiting for that emergency, that's real money. Here's the bottom line. Sarah saved her money, followed all the rules, and her bank paid her $100 to use $25,000 of hers and kept thousands for themselves. Mike did his homework, moved to a high-yield account, earned over 10 times more than Sarah, thought he cracked the code, but neither one ever stopped to ask the most important question. What is my bank doing with my money right now, and can I just do that myself? The answer is yes. You can. Your bank borrows your deposit, buys treasuries, lends it out at 7, 12, 21%, and hands you back a tiny fraction. The smartest move isn't finding a slightly better savings account. It's understanding why you're letting a middleman profit off your own money in the first place. If this opened your eyes to something you didn't know was happening, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for Money IQ Pro. Every week, we break down the hidden math behind the financial decisions you make every single day. The next video, you really don't want to miss it.